Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another video, and this one I'm super excited about because I have wanted this since it was announced. And I will mention straight away, I am sorry for making 2 Iron-Blooded Orphans videos in the space of 2 days, but this just came in the door and I'm so hyped about it. This of course is the Metal Robot Damashii Gundam Barbatos Lupus Rex. And of course this is from the awesome anime, Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. Without a single doubt, this right here is no cheap figure by any margin, so this video right here would not have been possible without those absolutely fantastic people over at Buyee. So if you do want something like this of your own, or something like this which is even harder to get, there is a link down there in the description, as well as a video on how I buy from Buyee to save some money. Anyway, let's get right on into that review, but first, in the same order I also got this. Sometimes you guys ask me in the comments about the buildings that I do use in my videos, and for the most part they are just Tomix N-Gauge 1/50th scale train buildings, so they're for using with train dioramas. I also have this one right here. This is just from AliExpress, and I'm not necessarily sure what it's called. 1/50th scale building, we'll definitely find it for you. So they had 2 of these. One was a 7-Eleven, one was a Family Mart. I personally am a Family Mart fan, and I'd almost say I'm more excited about this than the Barbatos. Oh, she's beautiful. Ooh, did I break it? Never mind, here we go. Whoa, it looks like you need to actually disassemble it to stick these stickers on for the stock on the shelves. That is pretty fun. Some assembly required. That's what it looks like finished. Absolutely beautiful. And then enter the Gundam Barbatos Lupus Rex. So anyway, there is the Metal Robot Damashii Gundam Barbatos Lupus Rex out of the box, and this is just what it looks like. This looks fantastic. There's one thing I can't get across in a video, of course, and that is how it feels. This is hefty, this has a lot of metal in its build, especially down at the feet, so it feels like it will stay planted to the ground. And honestly, Rex has never looked better. Out of the box, this comes with multiple shades on the white, which is white and grey. The gold is absolutely premium looking. We've got some more metallic on this, which is the green on the power icons. The red is in a nice gloss, and the blue on there is in an even glossier, glossy, beautiful, beautiful glossy blue. The black is also gloss, and this whole thing just reeks of ridiculous high-end quality. This is so cool. And adding to the incredibly multifaceted look of this figure is the die-cast parts. So this is genuine metal, and no paint can ever make up for the fact that plastic is plastic, so the metal parts look phenomenal in there, adding an even cooler dimension to it. Honestly, I am flabbergasted, to say the least. Barbie's demonic glare has never looked this evil, sharp, and awesome. And because this isn't a model kit, they've gone all out with the spiky parts. The claws, the big massive V-fin, the toes down there on the feet, and the giant bladed tail look phenomenal. And this has decals right out of the box, so once again, this is ridiculously crazy premium looking. And so far, this is a hefty boy that's holding himself together. Of course, I don't want to shake the hell out of this too much, but he's demon, he probably wouldn't mind that. But yeah, of course, I don't want to break it. So anyway, there's that full 360-degree spin, just in case there's something I forgot to mention, something that you want to see yourself, and in case you're tossing up whether you want one of these for yourself or not. Once again, this looks so good. The silhouette's fantastic. Every single millimeter of this figure looks ridiculously good. And what really gets me once again is the mixed surface finishes all over this. Matte, glossy, metallic, it's got it all. Once again, one fantastically beautiful looking figure right here. However, I do have one minor issue, and that is this right here on that Tekkadan logo. So at first I thought this was the outside line of a sticker because it was so prominent, but I think it's more like some kind of decal silvering. You can actually see the big rectangular shape all around the outside of this, and depending on the light, it hits it a lot more harshly and makes it a lot more apparent. In general, you will not notice this, but if you're a real stickler for things like this, like I am, then it might be quite difficult to not notice that. Besides that though, it is beautiful. As for a bit of a size comparison, this is non-scale, but it is kind of close to a high grade. It is bigger, but it's closer to that than it is to the 1/100 full mechanics. You prop up there. But when it comes to looks, it has them both beat, hands down. Well, you know I'd want it at that price. So now moving on to the accessories, and here is the Robot Damashii Barbatos Lupus Rex with absolutely everything that it comes with, and this comes with quite a lot. So what we got is a full stand with some extra supplementary stands, and this is a nice stand. As for weapons, we got that giant mace we all know and love. And then we've got a bunch of miscellaneous parts which include hands for holding the weapons, extra V-fin with Rex's crackling sexual energy, 2 fully articulated sub-arms, a whole bunch of adapters, 2 pile bunkers featuring visible nub marks, and 2 wires for using with the tail, 1 shorter one and 1 ridiculously long one. That is huge. Going through the hands, and first up we've got these killer, savage, brutal looking sharp ones. These look so cool, and the detail is so impressive. Swapping these out is super simple. They just pop off like that, pop on the alternate one like so. These are nice and tight so far, and that is what the alternate holding one looks like. So next up then is the mace, and this has never looked better. This is so cool. This is all in a very dark color, but it is somewhat brownish, which is a real iron-blooded orphans kind of vibe. These business ends have been given somewhat of a gunmetal finish. Some of the detailing is in a nice gray. We've got a decal on there and on multiple places. The handle is rocking some gray and red, and that can all extend out like so. To attach it into the hand, you just pop off this counterweight or pommel or whatever, so it can just slide on in just like so. Guess what we need in that stand? So yeah, no bueno on the wrist there. That is way too weak to hold this up. That is a bit of a disappointment. So no better time to bust out the stand. This segment here can move. This segment can move. That changes the angle. It's pretty simple. And then this little arm in the back, that's a locking mechanism for extending it like so. So far so good. First up, Barbie needs an adapter. Clips on like so. If you want this at a higher angle, just flip this part around to the longer end and there you go. Simple. Next then, another stand, another adapter. This time it is a grabby one. Pop it like in like so. That then goes in this hole like that. And honestly, I won't lie, I'm finding this ridiculously tedious and pedantic just to get a pose with the mace there. This is an awful lot of work. You know, a functioning wrist would have been better. But yeah, all complaints aside, this does look fantastic, this does look beautiful, and if this is the trade-off for some awesome articulation and posability, I guess it's not so bad. Next up in here, we've got the sub-arms. We do have 2 of these. As for attaching these, you just pop open the back of the arm, take this little segment out, the sub-arm slots into that segment, and then reattaches onto the arm. This thing then has 5 points of articulation, from what I can see. Once again, we can slide in that mace, and actually the sub-arm is doing a better job than the regular arm. So of course you can use this to pose it as if the sub-arm is passing that mace forward to the hand, or you can just pass it through the hand and the sub-arm for twice the hold, and this actually makes up for that somewhat weak wrist. This is great. This is a solid, awesome hold on a big old weapon. Not too bad, but now that the wrist is actually holding on, I'm finding that the waist here is starting to collapse under the weight. Sometimes, not always, it just, yeah, well, the lower waist definitely is not holding on to that. As for those little nub mark pile bunkers, they just insert into the bottom of the feet and do exactly what you'd expect them to. I picked the one with the least apparent nub mark, and I guess it's not the worst because you can twist it to be around back so that you can't see it at all. So I didn't see it in the instructions anywhere, so I just tried pulling the little pile bunker tip from the top of the mace here to see if this would fit, and it does. It is definitely a little bit on the short side, but it is more than enough to do in an enemy cockpit. But once again, a nub mark on a premium kit. At least it's only on a minor part. Just in case you wanted to know, there's what it looked like with the standard part in there. So next up, we've got 1 of 2 wires for attaching that tail blade. This is very simple. You just pop off the blade, attach one end of the wire to the back of Barbie, the other end then to the blade, and this is a fairly robust wire. This is also pliable, so you can bend it to whatever shape that you want. I find it does try to rotate in the slot attached to his back a little bit, but on the whole, this is awesome, posable, and looks great. This second one is extremely long, so much so that I thought that this may not even be able to hold up at all. So while attaching it, I did have a little bit of trouble once again with Barbie's waist. He wanted to flip back, flip forward. When I put this into some kind of position, it would just kind of flop down. So it does seem like this longer one isn't necessarily suitable for poses without using a stand. So we do have an adapter for using with this in the box, as well as another clear stand section. This does clip on quite tight, holds it in place quite well, and in general I had no issues with this whatsoever. It does look good. From an aesthetic perspective, it is a little bit of a shame that it needs to be held up with a stand, but I'm sure if you're creative, you can find a way to do this without using the stand. But now moving on to one of the coolest aspects of this figure, and that of course is this. that alternate V-fin with that mass of crackling red electricity. I can't wait to see this on. So there are those red effect parts, and I've seen these in pictures before, but in person these are so impressive. The shade of red is so nice, catches the light so well, that these just look perfect. There is the full 360 spin, so you can see them from absolutely every angle. These are sculpted so well, the lightning looks perfect. It really captures that powerful feeling of the Barbatos Lupus Rex. I love this. I almost completely missed this as well, but these both, and by both I mean both sides, feature articulation, so you can actually put these point in whatever direction you want to match with the pose. That is pretty cool. Can I angle this downwards? A bit. As for that shelf presence test, there it is up on the shelf with a whole bunch of other kits, which are mainly master grades and perfect grades up top. There are some high grades and real grades in there as well, and this still holds its own because of the amount of stuff it comes with. From a distance, of course, you may not notice all the detail it has, all those intricacies, that it's heavy, got metal parts, etc. But its posability, perfect silhouette, and all those extra bits give this a whole lot of attitude. For example, there is the high grade side by side with it, and from a distance these could look quite similar. Of course, the high grade's not in a pose, but if it was, these could look quite similar, especially with a little bit of detailing up on the high grade. But when you get in close, they will never be of the same caliber whatsoever unless you've got some ridiculous expert Gunpla skills. Once again, an impressive display piece without a doubt. So now moving on to the articulation, and once again I'm going to start off with the build. The build, well, it's not necessarily a build per se, but the overall structural quality of this is ridiculously good. When it isn't equipped with anything, that loose waist and wrist doesn't really make much of an issue of itself at all. It's only when you add on the really heavy weapons that it starts to lose a little bit to physics. It does come with a stand though to make up for that, so it's not so bad. Anyway, articulation from the head down. This kit really is a mix of very complex joints. There's the head all the way up, all the way down. That epic giggity, giggity, giggity goo. It can look all the way side to side. I'm not going to spin it all the way around. We have somewhat of an opening cockpit here. Bottom hatch, top hatch, metal inside. The arm can raise, lower inside of the torso, swing forward and back a lot inside of the torso. There is the arm raised all the way up. That was unpleasant, but it goes up a lot. That die-cast joint right there is tight. There's two joints inside of the shoulder. One is a ball joint that lets it do ball joint things. The other one is a very tight hinge here, which allows it to raise up and lower down. That's down. There is up and up. The arm can rotate at the upper arm. As for the bend at the elbow, it's a single point bend, but it gets you a lot considering how big its arms are. Big old opening section in the back of the arm. The wrist has rotation, this flexion extension, and then a ball joint on top, so we get quite a bit out of that. Very nice joint there. This figure has a beautiful waist, so it can ab crunch in there, as well as go side to side, and the pistons do function, which is undeniably cool, especially side to side. That is nice. We have another joint down there which allows a lot of forward and back, a little bit of rotation down there, and a lot of side to side ab crunch. So in total what we get is this massive ab crunch to the front, this very large one to the back. Wow. Side to side like so. Next up then we've got this incredible twist. So this causes even the pistons inside of that to twist. That is incredibly nicely designed right there. So if the actual fallout from this being such a incredibly mobile joint is the fact that it's a little bit loose, well, that honestly isn't the worst trade-off. Front skirt, ball joint up and down mainly. We've got a 2-point joint here at the side skirt, so the top one gives us that ball joint action, the bottom one gives us rotation, and in general, we get some kind of combination of that. Pretty good. Back here we've got a paralyzed butt flap, no movement. The waist features a dropping mechanism here, so that allows the leg to drop down and forward. And as for the kicks then, there is all the way up to the front, very, very nice. Out to the back, I assume will be blocked, yes, by that butt flap. And as for the splits, No issue whatsoever. The knee here is a 2-point band, so 1 and 2. That is what we get, and that is very good. Earlier on, this was a little bit stiff. It has loosened up over time. Not in an overly loose way, just giving me a little bit more than I thought it had, so that's impressive. At the ankle then, we've got some flexion extension here. This armor's on a really nice joint that keeps it from getting in the way. That is pretty cool. We then have that iconic Barbatos pivot that, well, is pretty much all you could ever need. And then we have some dropping toes as well, and that drops the whole way down. Very nice. On the ground, this gives us quite a bit. There's all the way to the front, all the way to the back. That is a little blocked, but you can slide those toes. And then there's the side to side pivot. Extremely nice. So the articulation here is off the charts awesome. There's no denying just how good this is. There's a couple of loose joints, one at the waist, one at the wrist, and the ankles can be a little bit on the loose side, but honestly, with this range of motion, it would be hard not to have some loose aspects. But once again, they're not critically loose, just a bit. And this articulation is ridiculous. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and you probably know by now that I absolutely love this right here. So as for the only real negative con here, and that of course is the fact that there is a loose waist and a little bit of a loose bit here and there. It does have a stand to make up for this, so that's not really such a big deal, and it never really gets too loose or drops out of any sort of pose that isn't extremely over the top with the mace involved. But as for the pros, it looks fantastic, the colors look great, there's varying visual textures on here, the metal parts feel great, the joints in general do feel great, all the accessories are mind-blowingly cool, and it makes a ridiculously awesome display piece. Now as for if this is worth it or not, I didn't realize it, but when I bought this, I bought it at pretty much twice the price of the original value because it is hard to get now. So this comes in at around, at least from HobbyLink Japan, it was about €100, which is only twice the price of something like one of the Ver Anime robot Damashii figures I would have looked at before. Is this worth twice a standard robot Damashii? Without a single doubt. So if you do see this pop up somewhere, you do get the opportunity to buy it, you want an absolutely awesome looking Barbie Lupus Rex of your own, then I say 100% go for it. Once again, there is a link down there in the description to buy it. You can get it through there if you want. It's quite expensive though. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more reviews, including that metal robot Damashii Gundam Vidar. And as always, I'll see you next time. Once again, I cannot finish this video right here without thanking each and every one of you guys. Whether you just watch my videos, like them, or support the channel on the channel memberships and over on Patreon. Like Craig Jury, Greg Humphrey, Kaiser721, Tyler Sanders, Caleb Engelhardt, Sean T, and the ambassador for Asymmetric Cats.